Welcome back to Joe Stonner Boxing. Liam Cameron, he's made a bit of a name for himself, hasn't he, over the last few days, because he had that fight with Ben Whittaker in Riyadh, brought in really as fodder for Whitaker to feast upon. A former Commonwealth champ, good honest pro, 6 defeats on his record, none of them by stoppage. Doesn't have a great deal of one-punch pop, but he's a big, strong man, pretty fearless. Gave Lyndon Arthur a very good row in his previous fight. And let's be honest, he got a technical draw against Whitaker, but I had him 3-2 up after 5. They counted the 5th round, by the way. I believe did the bell go for the... I don't know, but anyway, the 5th round was included. And I had him 3-2 up, as did one of the judges. One had it for Whitaker. I think that's very generous. And the third had it a draw, so it was a technical draw. And Cameron, in the aftermath of that fight, was very forlorn. He was interviewed immediately afterwards. He said, I just can't get the rub of the green. All these sort of... I've always been the away fighter. I've always been looking to try and upset the apple cart, make a bit of a name for myself. And this happens. And he was convinced he'd won, and I thought he'd won as well. And I did a review of the fight. I've made a video about Ben Whittaker and about, whether he was genuinely injured. I think he probably was. Whether it was as bad as he's making out, I don't know. I don't like to cast aspersions on fighters that say they're injured because I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, someone's injured and I'm saying they're not injured, that makes me out to be a bit of an arsehole, and I don't want to be an arsehole. I want to be someone who's at least open-minded about these things. However, things have turned out nicely, in fact, for Liam Cameron, because Frank Warren has signed him. He's not a young man, Cameron, but I think when you consider his last few fights, he's still got plenty left, and certainly even allowing for the strange ending where they both went over the top rope, him and Whitaker, he was in the ascendancy in that fight, and Whitaker was in that 5th round was looking ragged and a bit depleted in energy, and I don't have any answers as to why, unless he's struggling to make the weight or he had an injury coming into the fight. I honestly don't know. But had that fight continued, I think an upset, a stoppage victory for Cameron would not have been out of the question, or at the very least a points win. I think in the second half of the fight, which was looming, it was a 10-rounder. Liam Cameron was looking to... Really was already putting the heat on Ben Whittaker, and I think it would have been a real gut check at the very least for Ben Whittaker. So Cameron finally gets signed to a big promoter. And someone in my comments section said, do you know what? I think that the only reason Frank Warren has signed Cameron is because he wants to sort of stick it to Ben Shalom, sign the guy who most people think got the better of Ben Whittaker, regardless of the actual technical draw. Most people are saying Cameron was the guy who came out of that smelling of roses. So the guy who the guy who left a comment on my previous video said, I think that's what Warren's doing. He wants to sort of, turn the screws on Ben Shalom. Poor old baby Ben's getting it from all angles, isn't he? And Warren and Shalom had words on the stage. Remember that incident just before the Riyadh card where Ben pushed his way to the front and elbowed with his fighters and pushed Warren out of the way. I mean, Warren's about 72, and he's knocking on a bit, but he didn't care. Young Ben, look at me with my fighters, and Warren had words with him. We don't know what was said, but... And, of course, Eddie Hearn had a similar altercation with Shalom, much younger man, of course, Hearn in his mid-40s, said he was going to knock Ben out. And Ben's not making any friends, is he? And I kind of like the fact that he isn't, because every panto needs a villain, you know what I mean? So it could be that, Warren's thinking, okay, I'm going to get hold of Cameron, and I'm going to, drag this for all it's worth. I'm going to try and make the rematch with Whitaker, and if Whitaker don't take it, then he and Shalom will look very, very bad, and will look like they've bottled it. But there's one thing that's quite interesting about this, is that it does show how sometimes not only can, showboating and blowing your own trumpet, however you want to phrase it, sometimes it can get to the point where you're leaving not only yourself vulnerable, but if someone does get the better of you, they are suddenly elevated to a much sort of higher echelon than you would expect. And I think that's happened with Cameron. I mean, let's say Whitaker was a well thought of prospect who, and Cameron came in and sprung the upset. Would there have been as much attention on Cameron as there now is? The fact that Whitaker was so mouthy, was so flashy, pushed himself into the foreground of people's consciousness. The fact that he did that and that so many people are delighted that things didn't turn out for him reflects extra positively on Cameron. It's not like he's just, got the better. Well, it's a technical draw, but you know what I mean? Most people say, he got the better of a prospect. He got the better of a flashy, outwardly arrogant, high-profile guy. And as a result, he is able to jump several leagues up rather than just move up a couple of rungs. He's making a quantum leap. So I'm really happy for Liam Cameron. I'm glad he's finally getting a bit of kudos, a few kudos points, because he's been a good, tough pro, and he's had a stop-start career. And I think I'm right in saying he had some personal issues out of the ring. Very often he thought of quitting, I believe, because he just wasn't getting the opportunities. Now he's with Frank Warren. Let's hope that Frank can get him a few good paydays, maybe a shot at maybe his old Commonwealth title or the British title, or but whatever happens, let's hope that Liam Cameron has this sort of Indian summer of a career where he's able to, maybe pick up a title or two, build a little bit of a legacy, and put a few quid in the bank. Very much one of those sort of blue-collar unsung heroes, Liam Cameron. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Liam Cameron. I wish him nothing but the very best. And what do you think? Who would you like to see Cameron fight next? I want to see the rematch. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think Ben Shalom will put Whitaker back in with Cameron at all. I think he'll put him in with someone who can give him rounds but isn't as much of a threat. Maybe someone who's not as physically strong, because that physicality that Cameron was showing was really impacting badly on Whitaker. Don't forget, Leon Willingsgive went the distance with Whitaker after being floored in the first round. And so did that African fellow whose name always escapes me, his last fight. I don't know. Leave your comments below if you've got any. Have a think, and I will answer them. Of course, I will have a read of them. I always read your comments. I don't get a chance to answer all of them because there's too many of them now. Like, we recently hit 5,000 subscribers. Thank you again for that. That's fantastic stuff. But if you are new, please subscribe to the channel and help us out. And also, if you like the video, hit the like button, because they count the likes. It's all to do with the what's it, isn't it? The fuck they call that thing. I always want to use the word demographic. That's obviously wrong. Algorithm. The algorithms. Yeah. Hey, I'm IT savvy. Not really. All right. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.